Good day, friends. Welcome to Gord's Poetry Show number 84. Here we are, last day of August 2021, and it's still a little on the warm side here in southern Ontario. Not quite as insanely hot as yesterday before the thunderstorm, which relieved us of that muggy, humid air and left us with just plain old hot air. So that's why I'm inside. I could be outside and you could be listening to the birds and the breeze in the trees, but not this time. A little too hot. And, you know, poetry is everywhere. The poetry of everyday life. The shadows and light playing on my face. The shadows and light playing on your face. The thoughts whizzing through everyone's brain. The thoughts of personal life. The thoughts of society. The thoughts of what on earth is going to happen tomorrow. Liz Howard, Letters in a Bruised Cosmos. Liz is her second book. The first one won the Griffin Prize in 2016. Infinite Citizen of the Shaking Tent, which I'm almost certain we read on Gords Poetry Show. Sometimes books pile up by the side of the computer, and I think I'm going to read bits of all of them, and then I don't get to the last two. So the Shaking Tent book may have been one of the last two that I never got to, but I don't think so. I think I did actually get to it. Anyway, Letters in a Bruised Cosmos. Fine book. And I think I'm going to turn on the light before I start reading because I can't really see very well. Of course, now everything looks completely different. And I'm going to wiggle about here as I try to get this properly. A longish poem called Letter from Halifax. I just walked the street of my father. The street is called North. I paused in front of his white apartment building as the sun fed me from the west. There were two shopping carts chained together, one from the liquor store. My father turned empty bottles into full ones, into food and into rent. He pushed his cart across the city, gathering emptiness. I wonder if the North was the repository of his best intentions. He left when I was an infant. Powerless over drink, he ran, jumped the track, and erased himself from public record. He became a shadow I couldn't match. Every native man on the street, the unidentified dead in government databases. I searched their faces to see if they were a part of me. Would-be astronomer in his youth, I'd learn also to try and cast my gaze upwards. When I look at the Pleiades, I see 7 sisters who could hold me. In Anishinaabe cosmology, the constellation is known as Bagon's Gizhig, I think. The hole in the sky, a portal between this world and spirit, where I go when I dream, and, if anywhere, the place I'll find him again. I'm trying to write this as I sit in a Tim Hortons waiting to meet his common-law spouse, who will give me some of his personal effects, when a man next to me asks, "What does this word mean?" pointing to a spot on the page of a Maclean's where the word report appears. I landed yesterday in Halifax. My aunt had called to say he was here in hospital with liver failure and in a coma. The doctors would give him 48 hours to come out of it. I had the thought, maybe if I go to him, he'll wake up. My father's skin had yellowed, and the sclerae of his eyes, which were half open but clouded. A tear slid from the corner of his right eye to past the bone of his indigenous cheek. This tear had not yet dried when they began to withdraw life support, machine by machine. What kept him breathing, what jerked his head back and expanded his chest with decreasing regularity, was the last to be withdrawn. A nurse said, "He is in the process of actively dying now." Actively dying. In the ancient Near East, a sect would look to the stars or the livers of sheep for divination. What does a liver show or hold? Spurina, the Harpasex, foresaw the death of Caesar in the entrails of a sacrifice. Pasgak, the cursed Anishinaabe skeleton who flies through the boreal forests, is said to consume the livers of his victims. Prometheus's punishment for stealing fire from the gods was to be chained to a rock and have his liver torn out daily by an eagle. Every night his liver would regenerate. 2 days have now passed. 2 days I have been in Halifax. 2 days since my father has passed from mystery into appearance, laying bare his totality on a deathbed, distended cirrhotic belly and etherically beautiful face. He passed from unknowing into eternity as I watched the neon lines above him lie flat. I am still watching. I still do not know what I know. A nor'easter now passing over me, spilling its moisture from the Atlantic. Heavy rain that by midnight may turn to snow. What does it mean to actively die? Actively? I've been reading Kierkegaard, who writes, "For the heart, life is simple. It beats for as long as it can, then it stops." Full stop, as in a period, as a period is a flat line when extended. I have been given my father's papers, his Polaroids and a pocket watch that belonged to my great-grandfather. I have been given his ball cap that kept the maritime sun out of his eyes as he scavenged for bottles. The band of this hat has collected his scent, which is lemongrass, earth, and discount smoke. I have been given his small tools, cologne, nail clippers, a water canister, a small plastic box of razors, a picture of me as a baby, a drawing of electrical currents, a knife. I'm here, wedged within 3 nor'easters. The first fell after he died. The jaundice, the eyes that are mine, the snow white out of every street. The third will come Tuesday and cover Halifax in a foot of lace. Today I bought Ocean by Sue Goyette, a black dress and a pair of tights. Today I ate berries and drank black coffee. Today I felt the harbour folding in. A sphere flinched in my portal vein. Today I woke up late. This evening I looked up at the constellation Orion. Babunokinamini, the water maker. Tomorrow I will see my father's body for the last time. Today he will become ash actively. And the following poem in the book, Father's Day. The undertaker doesn't warn you about the consistency of the ashes. Not like those of, say, a cigarette. Scattering them will not be like when you used to blow into the ashtrays at your grandparents' house, as if blowing the fluff off dandelions gone to seed, for which you were gently scolded. The human form is difficult to destroy utterly. When fragments of your father's bones thud against the ground of his wishing, forgive yourself for the shock, the momentary turn in your stomach. When you see that his ash has caught onto your shoes and leggings and skin, come to see this as your first and only embrace. Well, that leaves quite an impression. Strong, sad, meditative expression. Thank you, Liz. From Letters in a Bruised Cosmos. I've been hearing a bit about a post-colonial love poem by Natalie Diaz, American poet, published by Grey Wolf Press, and several books, I believe. She's a MacArthur Fellow. Wouldn't like to be a MacArthur Fellow. I'd like to be any kind of fellow, actually. And some challenging work here in this book. But, I like a good challenge. And so should you. If I look a little short-sighted, that's because I am, and I'm not wearing my proper glasses. I'm waiting for the new ones to arrive. And these days I'm holding books close to my face. They don't love you like I love you. My mother said this to me long before Beyoncé lifted the lyrics from the Yeah, Yeah, Yeahs. And what my mother meant by don't stray was that she knew all about it, the way it feels to need someone to love you, someone not your kind, someone white, some many who live because so many of mine have not, and further, live on top of those of ours who don't. I'll say, I'll say. What is the United States if not a clot of clouds, if not spilled milk or blood, if not the place we once were in the millions? America is maps. Maps are ghosts, white and layered with people and places I see through. My mother has always known best, knew that I'd be begging for them, to lay my face against their white laps, to be held in something more than the loud light of their projectors, as they flicker themselves, sepia or blue, all over my body. All this time, I thought my mother said, wait, as in, give them a little more time to know your worth, when really she said, wait, meaning heft, preparing me for the yoke of myself, the beast of my country's burdens, which is less worse than my country's plough. Yes, when my mother said, they don't love you like I love you, she meant, Natalie, that doesn't mean you aren't good. Cranes, Mafiosos, and a Polaroid Camera. There's a number of poems in this book about the poet's brother. This is one of them. I had a few days left of my stay at the Crane Sanctuary in Kearney, Nebraska, when my brother called. It was 3:24 a.m. "It's me," he said. "It's your brother." He had taken apart another Polaroid camera and needed me to explain how to put it back together. His voice was a snare drum, knocking and quick. He was crying. I didn't want to wake the other visitors, and I knew he'd keep calling hour after hour, day after day, lifetime after miserable lifetime, until I answered. I slid out of bed. "Tell me what to do. You know what to do," he pleaded. I should know how to help my brother by now. He and I have had this exact conversation before. If I love him, if I really love him, why haven't I learned to reassemble a Polaroid camera? Instead, I told him about the sandhill cranes, the way they dance, moving into and giving way to one another, bowing down, cresting and collapsing their wings, necks and shoulders, silver curls of smoky rhythm. But he didn't believe me. My brother believes the mafia placed a transmitter deep within his Polaroid camera, but he can't believe in dancing cranes. "You think this is a joke?" he whispers. "These are fucking mafiosos I'm talking about. You're probably next." He hung up on me. That dawn I aimed my digital camera at the sky until the last of an island of late-rising cranes lifted into the metallic air. I couldn't take my eyes from the barrel of lens, my finger, the first trigger against the black skeleton of the camera. I wondered what it would look like cracked open to its upside-down mirrors and polished levers. How many screws there were, how many lantern-lit cranes might come unfurling out of that cage. I wondered what I would look like if the darkened chambers of my body were unlocked. What streams of light might escape me and reveal about the things I collect and hide? And is there a difference between aperture and wound? Mostly I wondered where my brother keeps getting these goddamn Polaroid cameras. And another about that self-same sibling. My brother, my wound. He was calling in the bulls from the street. They came like a dark river, a flood of chest and hoof, everything moving under splinter. Hooked their horns through the walls. Light hummed the holes like yellow jackets. My mouth was a nest torn empty. Then he was at the table. Then in the pig's jaws he was not hungry. He was stop. He was bad apple. He was choking. So I punched my fists against his stomach. Mars flew out and broke open or bloomed. How many small red eyes shut in that husk? He said, "Look, look," and they did. He said, "Lift up your shirt," and I did. He slid his fork between my ribs. "Yes," he sang, "a Jesus side wound." It wouldn't stop bleeding. He reached inside and turned on the lamp. I never knew I was also a lamp, until the light fell out of me, dropped down my thigh, flew up in me, caught in my throat like a canary. "Canaries really means dogs," he said. He put on his shoes. "You started this with your mouth," he pointed. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To the ride the Ferris wheel," he answered, and climbed inside me like a window. Post-colonial love poem, Natalie, Diaz. Ray Armantrout, Conjure. Nifty cover. Quite like this one. Lots of nifty short poems as well as a nifty cover. takes nerve to write short poems. You've only got a few words to play with, and you got to get a lot across in limited vocabulary. Contingencies. Contingent, which comes from touch, means now, alongside, and by chance. Two women asleep in a supermarket deli, People magazine between them. Askance, which once met from the side and now means with suspicion. This Xmas, beware of toys collecting data, dolls asking personal questions. Probe. No lie, need input, no ghosting you. Which coffee is best for wildlife? Are you going to get the monkey? Are you taking him to sister? No, you're giving him to granddad. Everything we did was tracked by sentences. Now we can't stop talking to ourselves. Worried about what happens. Just need a minute. We are all rooting for you. Yes, these are poems. Not haiku, but close. With us. With us, it's about choices. How many kinds of kind bars will we want? An abandoned pillow and dry grass says enough, but not too much. It might be a poem. In our thrillers, a protagonist must be convinced that events concern her. Could she be involved? With us, it's all about blast radius. Maple pecan is burnt ochre and sand. Flip the script. Samsung says the launch codes are in your twirl's heart. But with his permission, you will cut them out and turn the key. It's the only way to reach the finale, which by now is all anybody wants. Someone says to be conscious is to answer your own questions without really hearing them, the way a tower answers a cell phone's ping. Now mobile suggests you script the flip. Rethink the meaning of tumbling. Oh, I do like that. To be conscious is to answer your own questions without really hearing them. Oh yes, oh that's very good. Do like that one, Ray. Work songs. The Emperor's a pig and so are you starts up again. It's called Freedom in a Song. I turn my power on and prove it all night. And every day I am defiant and insulated in the thought bubble of your car. I will survive in my most popular moment. People shoot people, men shoot girls over a stretch of road, and then they don't want that they hate. I still got a lot of fight left. Messaging. Entanglement means two who have made contact stay linked over any distance so that, like a couple in a bad marriage, if one says up, the other will say down. A city of conifers, branches stacked like discs, top shots cocked this way and that, millions of wry asides. But who is there to count? In the battered post office, a clerk with a purple turban, mustache curled in two perfect circles, asks if he can help. Oh, I like those. Conjure, Ray Armantrout. And that's from Wesleyan University Press. And I should say I've been misreading some of the words because these glasses aren't good enough and the print's really small. So apologies to the poets if you listen to this and go, what is that guy doing ruining my poems? I do like the poems. It's just my glasses aren't good enough. Sorry about that. I mean, really sorry. Let me see if I can get better glasses. Not really. Around the house, these are known as the red glasses. Have you seen the red glasses? Someone will say. Oh dear. The Dysgraphist, I can't pronounce this one, by Canasia Lubrin. Canadian poet, published by McClelland and Stewart, and I think this is her first trade book. Although perhaps not. No, there's another one. Sorry about that. Is it not enough to enter ending oneself in the halving road, and the fires in is to blot the coasts that reject us? As we sugar the desert, we screed frantic for foolness. If fragile, if symbols, if nothingness, at first a doubt escalating our verbings. If still ourselves, a thing to become, past wavering interests in peace, given only for spilling. Recall that face which is no face, a craved choice, eureka in someone's dawn god. I and the next could praise now, if I were not set ablaze enough, if that morning I hadn't the thirst to lean into the world, with an ear to a mouth, begging for the happened thing, for something disguised. What could prove this dust, a freshly mouthed, not some cyclic, renewed, vaporized empire, settling its faithless wages? Eyes masses, those bent backs, enough. The print in that book is even smaller. So we'll get back to that next time when I've got better glasses. Let's see about this one. Anne Carson's done a number of strange and wonderful books. Strange for some and wonderful for others. And for a third class of people, strange and wonderful. She has done a new version, an updated version of Euripides' Helen. She's called Norma Jean Baker of Troy. And I imagine you know who Norma Jean Baker is, was, and will be. In our imaginations, I think she's more in our imaginations than she actually is in real life. This is a play, supposedly. It's been performed somewhere. A short play. It clocking in at about 65 pages. Would be interesting to see. Here's a page called Norma Jean Takes Up Knitting. Hard to imagine, but you never know. One thing I learned from psychoanalysis is to how to fake it with men. The guy I went to, Dr. Cheeseman, one day we were talking about Arthur's dimpled white buttocks and how I felt no sexual attraction for them or for him, which was awkward as we were newlywed and Arthur, King of Sparta and New York, hoped to engender a tiny Prince Arthur. And Dr. Cheeseman went into his Lacanian riff about how desire, full stop, is always desire of the other, capital O, which I took to mean visualize Yves Montand when screwing Arthur. But that didn't work for me, and what did work for me, oddly enough, was when I found myself one day describing Arthur to Dr. Cheeseman as an Asian boy. Asian boys being Dr. Cheeseman's own little problem. and so discovering Arthur to be desirable by seeing him shine back at me from Dr. Cheeseman's eyes. Is this too weird? I don't think it's uncommon. Psychoanalysis, call it triangular desire. But it's not what most people mean by faking it. They just mean acting. Well, in the first place, acting is not fake. And number two, acting has nothing to do with desire. Desire is about vanishing. You dream of a bowl of cherries and the next day receive a letter written in red juice. Or, a better example, you know I'm not totally bona fide blonde. I always say blonde on the inside is what counts. So I get a bit of colour every 2 weeks from a certain Orlando in Brentwood, and I used to wonder, shouldn't I dye the hair down there too? You know, make it match. But the thing is, talk about a bowl of cherries. Most men like it dark. Most men like what slips away a bit of strange. But I digress. The manager at Best Western was still talking when Arthur closed the phone and closed his eyes and said, "I need a drink." "Good idea," I said. "I need to think." Exit Norma Jean. That's the stage direction, I think. There's a Greek word here, and it's translated as concubine. This is the next page. History of War, Lesson 5. How do you define dirt? Here is what the ancient Greeks thought of it. Dirt is matter out of place. The poached egg on your plate at breakfast is not dirt. The poached egg on page 202 of the Greek lexicon in the library of the British Museum is dirt. Dirt is something that has crossed a boundary it ought not to have crossed. Dirt confuses categories and mixes up form. Applications. Use this spatial hygiene to explain certain neoliberal neuroses. Because the spooky thing about dirt, if you're a neoliberal, is that dirt is not passive. Dirt is coming to get you. Dirt is coming to get you. And cleanliness will doubtlessly follow soon afterwards to clean up the mess. Because that's what dirt and cleanliness do. They're two halves of the same coin. And Helen of Troy and Norma Jean Baker are two halves of the same coin too, I think. I suspect. Maybe I know. Maybe Anne Carson knows. I know a lot of people think she knows. She's got that aura of one who knows. And it's easy for poets to get that because they speak so mystically and mysteriously and strangely. People think, oh, they must know. I even think it myself sometimes. And when I'm reading a poem, I think I know. One of mine, oh, are you kidding? Boy, do I know. I'm the knowing guy when I'm reading my poem. And, such is the wonderful world of poetry. And I never stop praising it. I never stop swimming in it. Even when you're not seeing a poetry show, I'm at it. There's books all over the place. I've been reading these books for quite a while. Even though I messed up some of the reading, I apologize. But, these glasses are lousy. Can't wait to get the new ones. Anyway, greetings to all poetry lovers around the multiverse. And that includes Andromedans and Pleiadians and anyone visiting from other galaxies, Enjoy our poetry. It's good stuff. It tells you a lot about us humans. It really does. And while the Pentagon and the US government work out how they're going to fib about what they know about UFOs, I'm sure they'll do a very good job. They've been doing a great job for the last 50 or 60 years. Conspiracies and cover-ups and mocking all the researchers. Anyway, so long, friends. Bye-bye.